Well, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folani. Hope you had a great weekend. Well, this morning we're going to be talking about, we're going back to security. It's a perennial subject, as you all know, and it's a long-standing one. It was sort of epitomized a few days ago. That is with the most recent assault, shall we say, and the Arewa Consultative Forum has just called for a total eradication of banditry and terrorism. This is following the abduction of youngsters, school children, schoolgirls from the federal government college. That is the Federal Government College of where was that? That is Federal University Gusau in Zamfara State. Now, some students have been abducted. This brings to memory the harrowing similar incident, so much so that those now have a global recognition as the Chibok girls. In fact, I'm not sure that every last one of them has been brought back, and there have been so many problems in between then. There has even been something of a Stockholm syndrome, where some of the people are now identifying, indeed, have had children with the bandits, the robbers, the terrorists, whatever you want to call them, that actually took them. Okay, so now we have another situation, and it's a major one. President Tinubu has ordered security agencies to do everything to bring all of those students back safe and sound. Well, we hope that they'll be able to comply, but it is a harrowing subject, and going by experience in the past, one doesn't know how this is going to happen. The security apparatus arguably has changed from back then, but now we have this situation on our hands, and so we're just looking and hoping that the security agencies will indeed be able to come together and do what the president has ordered. That is, get back the female students of the Federal University in Gusau in Zamfara State. Yes, everybody knew about it, but it's the statement was issued, as you know, yesterday by Professor Tukuru Muhammadu Baba, and that's the forum's spokesman. And he had noted that it's utterly unacceptable. Now you see some of, well, I'm not too sure what these are different security pictures, but ACF does want the eradication of banditry and terrorism. Is it going to be a perennial event where it happens every now and then? Almost at will. It seems almost as will. And the terrifying thing about this is that it wasn't a 2-3 minute affair. According to news reports, they actually spent quite some time at the scene of the operation, in spite of some military barracks formations not being too far away. So Ada has called in. Let me take Ada. Good morning to you, Ada. Thank you for calling in.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Ada calling from Delta State.
Yes.
It's really unfortunate that this banditry is still going on. Well, I heard the president is giving a marching order. For me, what is happening has gone beyond marching order. That was exactly what Buhari was doing. Everything initially happens, there's a marching order. I mean, we should go beyond that. We are still doing the same thing the same way, and you are expecting a different result. It cannot happen. Ban open grades nationwide and adopt ranking. Decentralize the police for effective community policing. This can be achieved by amending whatever is amended to take way for state police. Its advantages outweigh its disadvantages, if you ask me.
Yes, but Ada, you just mentioned grazing as a component, and we don't have that information, do we? We don't have that information that.
Yes, it's part of the problem. Even on the plateau and Benue, all those places, it's part of the insecurity now. Are you going to separate it? All of that is an issue. They're also killing people. You mean you've not heard that? What I mean is violence nationwide. Sometimes are bandits, and the headers are seeing them as enemies, as saboteurs, because it's not done nationwide. if the Tinubu administration is bold enough, have a political will to ban it nationwide and adopt 19, at least that insecurity will also stop. Then all the forests should be combed nationwide with the use of air surveillance, ground troops in conjunction with local hunters, and any other establishing security actors in each state. Then they will neutralize all of them. They do it simultaneously. You know what I'm saying? So all this idea of saying safe school initiatives, they are getting money for it and all that, it cannot work. No school can be secured in isolation. The schools are located in a community. Once the communities are safe, the students will be safe. That's what I'm trying to say.
Indeed.
All the let's talk about Nigeria.
Well, thank you very much, Ada, for calling in, showing a bit of righteous anger there. And indeed, that's the way a lot of people feel. Maybe it's not really anger. Maybe it's better to say frustration, because one is frustrated that, look, children are in school and they're not safe, and that's a big problem. So really, it's frustrating. The government is doing all that it can, but the big question is whether it is enough, whether government actually has the scope of the problem. And as Ada said, it's not the first time that we've had a president order, immediate action and ordering that all of them be brought back safe. So to many, it will be a cold comfort. And maybe this is as fine a time as any to bring in Dr. Kabir Adama. Dr. Kabir Adama is the managing director of Beacon Consultancy Limited, which, by the way, is an enterprise savannah risk management and intelligence firm in both Nigeria and the Sahel region. Good morning to you, Dr. Adama.
Thank you, Uncle.
Yori,
actually,
please.
Adamu.
Oh, Adamu. I beg your pardon. So thank you very much, Dr. Adama.
And it's a pleasure to part on your show.
Indeed. Thank you very much. It's our pleasure to have your expertise too. But it's a frustrating thing. One wishes that one could have met in happier times. The girls that have been abducted, and the president has given this instruction, Ada has just called in, and to her, it's very, very little by way of comfort, because as she points out correctly, it's not the first time, and a presidential directive in this direction hasn't yielded all that much fruit in the past. Give me your comments on this, because one begins to wonder, so what else can the government do? The president is commander-in-chief, but we've also heard that these incidents, we have to look at them carefully and perhaps differently, in the sense that it's not a war with external factors. Give me your impression, Dr. Adam.
Thank you very much once again for this opportunity. And undoubtedly, this is something that concerns every Nigerian at the center of our existence as a nation and our aspiration to develop its education. So anything that challenges education, honestly, is an existential challenge to us. And it's understandable that a lot of people are angered, they are concerned, frustrated. I mean, you can use so many adjectives and verbs to describe what the kind of reactions that have occurred since this incident was reported. And it is also understandable that several people have reminded us that we've gone down this path where incidents like this will occur. The commander-in-chief would issue directives, and sadly, either those directives will not be met, or even where they are met, they would not, ensure that those type of incidents don't occur again. Now, why is this the case? There are two major areas that we need to look into as a country, and all of them revolve around the concept of accountability, security sector accountability. On the one hand, there is operational accountability, and then on the other hand, you have financial accountability. Now, all of these are concepts in security, national security, that require a lot of time to discuss, but I'll quickly, as much as possible, try to mention, simplify them in such a way that our listeners will will understand what I mean. The essence of security is tied to subsection 14, subsection 2 of our Constitution, which mentions the welfare and protection of the average Nigerian. So everything the security sector does is contributing to that particular element within section 14, subsection 2. Now, thirdly, over time, for a lot of reasons, that ability to monitor the contribution of the various elements of our security sector to this particular provision within the Constitution has either dwindled or has been made ineffective. And one of them is the legacy of military rule, where pronouncements are made and there is no accountability around those pronouncements. Is what if the military government decides to fulfill it, they fulfill it. If they don't fulfill it, nobody can come and hold them to account to say you've not fulfilled it. The second point is corruption, both financial corruption and thirdly, administrative corruption, where for some reasons, even where instructions are given, the person, for one reason or the other, it may be lack of capacity, it may be issues around meritocracy and all of that, would be unable to fulfill the actual mandate that he or she, or in the direction or instruction that he has been given. Now, the third element is the inability of the coordinating body or the supervisory body to now take action against that individual who has been unable to carry out that responsibility. Now, I may be speaking high level, but I'll try to break it down to relate it to what happened in Zamfara.
Okay, but before you continue, Dr. Adamo, before you continue, when you say it might also be as a result of the absence of a coordinating authority, isn't that what the NSA's a job essentially is?
So when the coordinating elements within our national security sector are relatively about 4 of them. The one that most people know is, like you rightly indicated, the Office of the National Security Advisor. But to be fair to that office, it's an advisory office. It's not an operational office. I know there are things here and there. The immediate past occupant of that office attempted to operationalize the office, and there was a lot of conversation within experts on whether that is the right thing to do or not.
Okay.
But statutorily, that office is an advisory office.
Okay.
So yes, it has coordinating elements. The other elements that have operational capability and that are coordinating elements within the security sector are the Ministers of Defense, Minister of Interior, Minister of Police Affairs, and then the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. In certain instances, again, I want to emphasize this, in certain instances, which is also debatable, the Chief of Staff to the President also has that power, which he derives from the President. So when we're speaking coordination, these are the 5 principal areas that have that responsibility for coordination. And like we always say, where there are too many captains in one ship, then the result is what we're seeing at the moment.
Because I was going to ask if it is easily possible for all of those coordinating authorities to actually be on this. It would be desirable to be on the same page, but whether operationally that is possible, I don't want to take away from what you're saying, but you're just explaining, I think, the complexity of these kind of matters, especially in the eyes and ears of the ordinary citizen who might not necessarily be a professional. He just knows that we have these instruments that are supposed to uphold orderliness, law and order, but you seem to be explaining to us some of the complexities and challenges that can arrive therefrom. Thank you. Please continue, sir.
Excellent. So within that, these complexities, the philosophy behind the constitutional requirements also made provision for governing bodies within the security sector. So as an example, you have the National Security Council, you have the National Defense Council, you have the National Police Council, and in the case of Nigeria, which is an anomaly, I'm not sure how it happened, but the National Economic Council too has in the past also taken decisions on security matters in this country. So to answer your last question on both the complexities and how to, as it were, defeat those complexities, it would be to ensure that the national security councils, those governing bodies, are strengthened and they are held, periodically like they should be held. At the moment, in my honest opinion, I have seen enough reason for the convening of at least the National Security Council. Within the last few days, certain occurrences have occurred that ordinarily that governing council should have been convened. A good example is the attack on our military forces in Niger State that led to the death of over 20 of them. We all saw on national TV during the burial. I don't know how many of us did not shed tears with the pictures that we saw. More recently, there was the dastardly, and I can't even find the right adjective to describe what happened in River State when a DPO was decapitated and it was put on video and uploaded on social media. And then last week, it was in Imo State when our security forces from different organizations were ambushed. It was also videoed and put. All of these incidents deserve that type of attention. Now, why do they deserve this type of attention? They are issues that are existential threats. When non-state actors attack or challenge the supremacy of the use of force by the state, they are making a bold statement, and we need to dent their confidence. The best way we can dent their confidence is to harness our national powers. And none of the structures that I've mentioned previously has that capacity. It is the National Security Council that has that capacity to harness that national power, go after the perpetrators. Some of them have political affiliations, those elements. And I'm very conscious of what I'm saying. I know I'm on national TV. So every statement I make here, I'm very conscious. And I'm also careful, with the implication of some of the statements. That governing body can harness both our kinetic and non-kinetic elements of the national power. And then we go after the perpetrators, identify them, and then use the instruments of the state to either arrest them or take actions that would ensure that those incidents don't repeat themselves. Now, that is how we came to what happened in Zamfara State. I was trying to make the point that the university in the first place is under a particular ministry, which is the Ministry of Education. Now, that Ministry of Education in 2020,
Okay, we're sorry the sound dropped there. We will get it back very shortly. But this is intriguing, what we are being told by Dr. Kabir Adamu, an expert. Because I made the point earlier to him when the sound was still good that the sequences that he's explaining, a lot of us would have thought that exactly is what the president has done now. He has directed, he has given the command, both as the president and the commander-in-chief, that you go after the, I don't know what they are at the moment, kidnappers. Go after the bandits. And but Dr. Adamu seems to be explaining, yep, he's aware the president has so directed, so commanded. But Dr. Adamu was explaining how there are all these challenges, and that's what perhaps when he comes back on, he'll explain to us, why would the commander-in-chief, why would you throw everything, including the kitchen sink, at a problem that the commander-in-chief has actually ordered? But we have on the line, good morning, who do we have on the line? Mr. Aminu. Aminu, good morning, sir.
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
Good morning, Mr. Young.
Thank you very much for calling in.
I want to respond to what Ada from Jos have said.
Yes.
Because she always tags a threat that we belong, the cattle headers, as terrorists. So next time, if she tags us, I'm a cattle header, a business cattle header, we are not terrorists, we are not bandits, we are businessmen. She should be very mindful of what she is saying, because we have no other option but to take her to court to prove to us that we are criminals. This is on one side. The other side is The entire case in Zamfara is more of a mining of solid minerals. They are not, we all know the issues. So we all, the government of Zamfara State and the national government have to do something deliberate on those that are getting riches out of those places. It's very simple. Cordon the area, fish out the people, cordon the area, manage it for 6 months, declare state of emergency in that place. We will all be safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for calling in, Aminu. And as you say rightly, there are law-abiding cattle herders too, cattle rearers, and as you say, there are they are businessmen. I think MACBAN is the organization that ties them all together. Indeed, the point that you made has been said. Although you can understand where the impression, even if you deem it to be wrong, it might well be where it had come from, because they had always been mentioning cattle herders, but that is absolutely no reason for one to assume that any disturbance where there happens to be cattle rearing would automatically be the fault of those cattle rearers. I think that point has been made. And I'm happy to say that Dr. Adamu is now back online, and you heard the comment that came in from Adamu, a cattle rearer who is a law-abiding one, and there are many others. And you know, there is very sketchy information about this attack, But you were explaining, and in the meantime, Adamu has called in with a suggestion. He's probably, gone a few steps beyond where you were taking us sequentially through it. But he has said that what is the problem? That seems to be what Mr. Aminu was saying. What is the problem? Gold mining has brought in all sorts of ne'er-do-wells to that place, cordon it off, and on the level of the ordinary citizen, by the time it is seen that there is a zero tolerance for anything untoward here, at least you're the expert, but Aminu did explain that it's not really rocket science. What would you say to that? Okay,
I don't want to fall victim of what I think is a challenge. That is the inability to disaggregate the security issues themselves. It's honestly, professionally speaking, it's wrong to simplify the case and just use one single stroke of paint to say this is the issue. There are multitude of issues that are allowing the security situation in Zamfara and other parts of the country to be where they are at the moment. While I agree that the issue of non-state actors, including bandits and other criminal gangs, are contributing to the security challenge in Zamfara and the Northwest, to, for instance, isolate it to mining is not correct. It's bigger than that.
Okay.
Mining is a contributing element. But to go back to my earlier point around the incident that happened in the university in Gusau, I was making the point that that university is being supervised by the Ministry of Education, as an example. And that ministry came out with a policy in 2021 around safe schools. It was a development that started with the Safe School Initiative to the Safe School Declaration that now culminated into that policy. And that policy is a beautiful document. In fact, anyone around the world agrees that that is the best way to go. In simple terms, that policy is meant to protect the school environment. There are about 6 elements to 7 elements in every good and effective security arrangement, starting from elements around detecting the threat, to denying the threat the ability to come to the school environment, to delaying it, to responding, to recovering, and several other components. That policy provides for it. And the beauty of the policy is that it divides the school environment into components. The external environment, the internal environment, and within the internal environment, you have the academic staff, you have the students or the pupils, as the case may be, you have the non-academic staff, you have contractors, you have the Parent-Teachers Association. Each and every one of these have roles to play within that policy. Point I'm trying to make, we have a beautiful policy that is yet to be implemented. So when the president issues a directive like the one he issued yesterday, there is a background And in my honest opinion, we need to have corrected that background to
Okay.
ensure that there is no
Because I was going to ask, sorry to interrupt you, I was going to ask Dr. Damo if with the sketchy information such as it is that we have available to us, are you able to sort of professionally isolate which aspect of the beautiful policy that you've just spoken about, which aspect of it failed? You said there's an internal, there's an external. Which aspect of it failed?
So almost all the aspects failed in the case, at least the little I know. Like you rightly said, a lot of information is not yet available, but I know that school very well. I can tell you that school, if I'm going to rate the physical security arrangement in that school, let's say from 10 to 0, where 10 is good and 0 is bad, I would probably give it 2. It is located in an environment that is easily accessible by the non-state armed groups who are behind the abduction. The perimeter fencing is extremely very bad. From the pictures that we saw, accessing the hostels where the students were domiciled was very easy. There was no physical security measures. A good security arrangement should have at least 4 elements. From the time the threat element leaves his or her location to come and carry the attack, they should have detected the threat element.
Indeed.
Now, under the policy, the students would have been trained on what to do if there is an impending attack. Till now, almost 48 hours after the incident, a number has not been provided
Indeed.
of the persons who have been abducted, which tells me that there was no database or system in place